Recently, I came across a TikTok video by Dr. Z that honestly had me a little bit emotional. He shared a video of a man who had been living with Parkinson's disease for over 35 years and had tremors that were so bad he couldn't even pick up a glass of water on his own without any sort of assistance. Dr. Z went on to explain that after this man had a surgical procedure where he received a deep brain stimulator, also known as a DBS, he was finally able to lift the glass and drink on his own. Something so simple, yet honestly, really powerful.
This man is in tears because he can finally drink a glass of water. He's had Parkinson's disease for the past 35 years, and his tremors were so bad he wasn't able to drink from a glass of water without assistance. You see, Parkinson's disease boils down to pretty much one thing, and that's a lack of production of dopamine from a certain part of the brainstem called the substantia nigra. Dopamine plays a critical role in the basal ganglia, which is the region of the brain that is responsible for initiating and coordinating different movements in the body. And so in order to combat this, we developed a procedure called deep brain stimulation. When the patient is awake, we place this frame around the head and we identify the location of the brain called the subthalamic nucleus. And while the patient is awake, they are taken to the operating room and they have a hole drilled into the skull, and then an electrical wire is actually implanted into that part of the brain. That wire will then be connected to a battery which will release certain electrical impulses at a certain rate. And it can actually help facilitate the person to be able to have appropriate movement and get rid of the tremor that is commonly seen in Parkinson's disease. And so sometimes we take for granted something as simple as just being able to drink a glass of water. I mean, it's really, truly heartwarming and also very humbling to be able to see someone have their life back from a procedure that we do in the operating room that lasts just a few hours.
I'm going to explain this the best way that I can as someone who holds a degree in biology with a concentration in neuroscience, and as a medical speech language pathologist who works very closely with people living with Parkinson's disease. But first, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danetta Davis. I'm a medical speech language pathologist, and here on this channel, I provide detailed yet simple and easy to understand explanations regarding voice, speech, language, cognitive, and swallowing disorders. Do me a favor, go ahead and like this video. It really does help my channel to reach others just like you who can benefit from this information. And if you're looking for explainer videos from a licensed speech language pathologist regarding Parkinson's disease and stroke, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. These are my clinical specialties and the bulk of videos that I create. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the video. In the TikTok video, Dr. Z explains that Parkinson's disease comes down to one main issue: reduced dopamine production. Dopamine is produced in a structure located in the midbrain of the brainstem called the substantia nigra, which is part of the basal ganglia system. The substantia nigra is responsible for sending dopamine to other parts of the brain that help control movement. In Parkinson's disease, the cells in this area slowly begin to deteriorate, and as those cells are lost, dopamine levels begin to decrease. This is where the basal ganglia comes in, because it's not just one structure, it's an entire system. It's actually a group of deep brain nuclei, or clusters of neurons, that all help to control movement. You can think of the basal ganglia as the brain's movement control center. The basal ganglia includes the caudate nucleus, the putamen, the globus pilatus, the subthalamic nucleus, and the substantia nigra. Each of these structures communicate with one another to regulate how movement occurs. The basal ganglia helps the body to initiate movement, to stop movement, to control movement speed, to smooth out movement, and to suppress unwanted movement. When everything is working properly, movements are fluid and automatic. You don't have to think about lifting a cup, holding it steady, or bringing it to your mouth. When dopamine levels drop, the basal ganglia can no longer regulate movement properly. This leads to tremors, rigidity, slow movement, and difficulty initiating movement. The brain essentially loses its ability to smoothly turn movement signals on and off. That loss of regulation is what causes a tremor that is typically seen in Parkinson's disease. So then what is deep brain stimulation, and how can it help? Dr. Z also discussed a surgical procedure known as deep brain stimulation, or DBS for short. It's important to know that deep brain stimulation does not cure Parkinson's disease. Rather, it helps regulate abnormal brain signals. So then how does DBS work?
Ever wondered how deep brain stimulation, DBS surgery, is performed? It's a groundbreaking procedure that helps treat conditions like Parkinson's disease and tremors. Here's how it works. The patient is given anesthesia, but in some cases they remain awake to help doctors test electrode placement. A small hole is drilled into the skull, and thin wires with tiny electrodes are carefully inserted into specific brain areas that control movement. These electrodes are connected to a small battery-powered device, like a pacemaker, implanted under the skin near the chest. Once activated, the device sends mild electrical pulses to regulate brain activity, reducing symptoms like tremors and stiffness. The entire procedure is highly precise, guided by advanced imaging to ensure accuracy.
DBS does not replace dopamine, but it does help the brain to communicate a little bit more effectively despite dopamine loss. And this is exactly why that moment in the beginning that we watched together, that man drinking a glass of water on his own, matters so much. Because Parkinson's doesn't just affect movement, it affects a person's independence. And when tremors improve, people are able to regain small pieces of their life back. Some things that I want you to keep in mind is that deep brain stimulation is not for everyone. It does not stop disease progression, and it does not cure Parkinson's disease. But for carefully selected individuals, it can significantly improve quality of life. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and like the video and share it with the person or people you had in mind. You never know, they may absolutely benefit from the information that was presented. And if you stayed all the way to the end, consider subscribing. I post weekly videos just like this one regarding communication and swallowing disorders. Thanks so much for watching. And lastly, YouTube thinks that this is the next best video for you to watch. I'll see you there.